I'm Beth Friedman.
I'm Joe Foster.
And this
is Fin Voices.
This is Beth Friedman, Senior Partner at Fin Partners, and you're on Fin Voices. Today, I'm joined by Greg Surla, Senior Vice President and Chief Information Security Officer at FinThrive, a revenue cycle technology company. Greg has over 20 years' experience in cybersecurity and risk management. He's helped hundreds of hospitals protect their data and their bottom line. Today, we'll dive into lessons Greg and FinThrive learned from the Change Healthcare cybersecurity breach. And Greg will share his new strategies for resilience, especially as it impacts the revenue cycle and as we all prepare for 2025. Greg, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Beth. I'm glad to be here.
So, Greg, we recently heard that the Change Healthcare breach impacted 100 million patients. And another report just last week said that 92% of provider organizations have been targeted by cyber attacks in 2024 alone. It seems like every single day, I don't know about you, but my news feed is showing me cybersecurity and healthcare information. These disruptions impact cash flow, they impact workflow, pretty much everything in the health system, even to the point, I think I remember when the Change breach occurred, that Optum even offered interest-free loans to their customers earlier this year to help with some of the billing backlog problems. So you're a cybersecurity expert. I'm just curious, what was FinThrive's experience during that situation earlier this year?
After the breach, Change Healthcare customers reached out to FinThrive. They were looking for backup solutions for their claims submissions because they were stuck. They were waiting for Change to get back to work, and they needed some help. So they reached out to FinThrive, and for us that helped us understand that, you know, as an organization as well as an industry, we need to diversify our partnerships. Putting all your eggs in one basket ended up blowing up in many people's faces, and we struggled with that a little bit. And so, it also opened up the idea that cybersecurity is something we need to pay more attention to. Right, the breach. I consider it a watershed moment in the industry. It was an earthquake. It said, "Hey, everyone, you need to wake up. There's an issue with cybersecurity in the industry, and we're all interconnected. So we need to strengthen our approach to safeguarding data and our operations. We need to continue focusing on cybersecurity and making that a priority within the industry."
Greg, you're right. I think what impacted me the most, having been in the industry for a while, is just the fact that, if a vendor as big as Change,
right,
could have this happen, right? What about so many, especially in the revenue cycle, so many other smaller companies? And it really did, to your point, just made us all realize how prevalent it is and how possible it is, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you pointed out in the very, very beginning about how daily you're seeing something occur with healthcare security, healthcare cybersecurity. That's absolutely the truth. We're as an industry, we're under attack, and it doesn't seem like it's going away. So it's just, we need to be aware, and we need to respond to it.
It's absolutely our new reality. And, every single CEO survey that you see come out, it's a top priority at the highest levels, right? So I guess it's good. We're all on the same page. Now let's talk about 25. So going into the year ahead, you obviously learned a lot of lessons at FinThrive. We all did as an industry. What should we prioritize? What are the must-dos as we look ahead to January 1st?
Yeah, so we need to identify and protect our critical assets. What are the crown jewels of your organization? And once you identify those crown jewels, strengthen your defenses. Shore up your defenses again, with those crown jewels in mind, so that you're spending more time protecting what matters and what's going to cost you time and money. and make sure that those defenses are strong enough to meet the challenge that's coming towards you. The other thing you want to do, or one of the things, excuse me, is you need to understand and monitor user behavior. The healthcare industry is very different from other industries in how the end user works. And so gain insight into those user needs and actions. And then from that insight, and just try to anticipate what those potential vulnerabilities are and increase your monitoring so that when you are looking for those attacks, you know the difference between what's usual or what's normal user behavior and what's behavior that you need to start paying attention to. Third thing is ensure timely patching. Regularly, this goes without saying, but it is very important. A lot of the vulnerabilities, or excuse me, a lot of the breaches and attacks that we see are because of a vulnerability that has not been patched. So regularly update and patch your systems, especially your legacy systems. There are a lot of systems that are out there. Not everybody can upgrade their systems yearly. So you're going to have some older systems sitting out there. Make sure you patch those older systems so that you can close those security gaps as quickly as possible. And then finally, evaluate your third-party risks. Change Healthcare brought to the forefront the impact of third-party risk. We also saw CrowdStrike. We saw a number of other third parties that impacted companies in ways that we had never seen before, we had not anticipated. So make sure that you're assessing and you're managing those risks associated with your third-party vendors and partners.
Excellent. So you gave us four key things to do here. Identify and protect those critical assets, those crown jewels as you described. Really understand your user behavior so you can monitor it and improve it. And we're going to talk about end users a little bit later in the conversation as well. The patches, the timely patches, we have so many legacy systems out there, and I hear what you're saying. Sometimes those systems have unknown openings, if you will, for attacks. Yeah. And then the last thing is third-party risks. Let's talk about that specifically. I had heard that before, that the third-party vendors is really almost the most common area for breach. Right. There was an AHA report that came out recently that said 58% attacks were due to health business associates or third parties. And this was actually up 287%. That's almost hard to imagine that number. Right. From 2022. So, the bad actors are certainly going after our third party business partners. Can you tell us what specific types of third party vendors are at risk, or are there any specific types of companies that we should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I mean, the big ones are, the most obvious is those vendors that are hosting your valuable data. Those are obviously going to be targeted. But one of the things that we've seen, especially with, recently there was a SolarWinds attack, to get to that in just a second, but vendors with connectivity to your environment, those present a significant risk. So the SolarWinds attack, it impacted about 30,000 public and private companies. It was very successful because the attackers exploited a system management tool from SolarWinds that had privileged access to other organizations' systems, critical systems. So when the attackers were able to exploit SolarWinds, they were able to exploit these 30,000 other systems. So with that, we had quite a few smaller companies, and healthcare was one of the major industries that were impacted by SolarWinds. But smaller organizations such as hospitals were impacted because they were using a third-party management tool such as SolarWinds. And so when SolarWinds was impacted, those hospitals were impacted.
So I assume, obviously, maybe I should assume, Greg, I would think it would behoove all of the health executives listening and IT professionals listening that we have got to have that list of third-party business partners just nailed down, concrete, continually updated, and also be in conversations with all those partners about the security assessments, potential gaps, where they are, what they're doing as third-party vendors.
Oh, absolutely. We need to understand what they're doing. Your IT teams need to create a list of those critical vendors, those vendors that could potentially impact you, and make sure that they're on the same sheet of music as you are when it comes to security, and they understand what your needs are. And so, yes, absolutely.
Trust is everything in the healthcare revenue cycle, and FinThrive is a revenue cycle technology partner trusted by more than 3,250 healthcare providers. We go beyond traditional siloed solutions. Instead, we deliver a full revenue cycle management platform that prioritizes data protection, monitors threats, and manages third-party risk. FinThrive's goal is to keep your billing secure and your cash flowing. With FinThrive's platform, you're empowered to focus on what truly matters, delivering exceptional care. Join the health system leaders who put their trust in FinThrive by visiting finthrive.com.
This is Beth Friedman with Fin Partners, and we are back with Greg Surla, Senior Vice President and Chief Information Security Officer at FinThrive. Today, we're discussing the lessons learned from the 2024 cybersecurity incidents and how health systems can future-proof themselves to protect their systems and their data. Greg, we've covered technology a lot in this show. We talked about the 4 things to do from a technology perspective. We talked about third-party vendors and things to do with those partners. But I also know that breaches often happen due to human error. You mentioned end users before.
Right.
Can you share a few examples of breaches that you see originating from, end users?
So the first one that comes to mind is our IT configuration errors, where either an administrator or an end user will configure their system in such a way that allows that system to be exploited. It happens often. Mistakes happen. Users are users. People are people. Mistakes are going to occur. And the unfortunate thing is that bad guys and the bad girls that are out there are going to exploit that. The second area where we're seeing a large number of attacks is phishing attacks. This is where staff will mistakenly click on a malicious link sent to them through email. That link will either download malicious software to their system, or it'll bring them to another website where they input their company's username and password, allowing the attackers to exploit their systems as well as their company systems. So healthcare has a 51% phish-prone rate. This phish-prone rate is a statistic or a number that was generated by KNOW-BE, and then the number 4, KNOW-BE, which is a leader in security awareness training. One of the things that they do, one of the service offerings they have, is to create phishing tests so that they can, as an organization, you can test your end users to see how prone they are to phishing. With healthcare, it is a 51% phish-prone rate, which is extremely high.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It really is. It's way up there. And so, using a tool like KNOW-BE really helps, because you can judge your employees, you can judge your staff, see where are they failing, right? Things happen. People are in a rush. Healthcare, especially healthcare, their primary goal is to treat the patient.
Right.
And so they may be in a rush, a doctor, a nurse, or any other staff member may be in a rush, and they see an email message that says, hey, it's an emergency, you need to click on this. They're probably going to click on it, right? And so, tools like KNOW-BE, Microsoft also has a phishing test tool. And then there are a number of security awareness tools that are out there. But using tools like that will help you look at what your company is, where they're failing, and it also will allow you to train your employees, your staff on how to get better at spotting phishing emails, which is it's really essential to reducing those human risk factors.
Mm-hmm. Because I'm an end user, right, at Fin Partners, right. And we've had training and a lot of information about phishing. I'm curious, I'm just curious, the 51% in healthcare, I wonder where PR and marketing firms rank on that, but we can talk about that another day. But yeah, we had training. And it's interesting because I believe every single one of us at Fin, and I'm sure every single healthcare employee, we're trying to do our best.
Right.
But we do get in a hurry. We are in a rush. So I can see where, it's inadvertent for sure. Nobody's doing this intentionally.
Absolutely true. And we see that at FinThrive. I've seen it at other organizations where I've been. It's one of those things that happens, and the best thing we can do as a company is to just talk to our end users and get them to slow down, get them to look at what they're clicking on, get them to think about it, and hope for the best, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Good advice. So we're getting to the end of the show. What final best practices would you recommend, especially as it relates now to revenue cycle companies? Because when revenue cycle goes down, guess what? Cash doesn't come in the door. And then the whole organization is impacted from that financial perspective. So anything specific to revenue cycle?
No, absolutely. Yeah. So first of all, have a plan in place and include all your stakeholders in this plan, whether they're IT, whether they're a finance team, whether they're your C-suite, whatever. Include all of those stakeholders in this plan. And then, as a part of this plan, consider that ransomware, if you're impacted by ransomware or if your vendor is impacted by ransomware, it can take weeks to resolve. So if, just keep that in mind and start thinking about how you can lessen that time. Next, contact all your critical RCM vendors and discuss how both of you will respond to a cyber event. Perfect example of this is, if we have FinThrive, for instance, a customer may get ransomware, right? And what we'll do as an organization is we shut off connectivity to that customer so that there is no transfer of ransomware to our systems. And vice versa, I'm assuming. So make sure that you stay in contact with your vendors and let them know this is what we plan to do, and you want to know how they plan to respond to a cyber event. And then set ground rules. Once that event occurs and you've disconnected, set ground rules for reestablishing connectivity between you and your vendors. Make sure that you both understand what's required to get that connectivity restarted. And then, if possible, set up a safe alternative approach to exchange data between your RCM vendor and your organization so that you're not impacted in the long term. We have customers that will set aside specific, they will have safe environments that they can use to continue transferring information over to FinThrive and vice versa, which is away from the impacted, environments that are suffering from, most likely ransomware. So those are the 4 areas that I think that we should do when it comes to protecting your cash flow.
Absolutely. That communication across all your RCM vendors really hits home. Right. The change attack happened, I think, was it February or March?
Yeah.
I remember I was at the Vive conference, and then immediately after was the HIMSS conference, right? And at the HIMSS conference, I actually had the chance to sit down with one of the CIOs here in Atlanta, where I live, with one of the largest health systems. And I asked him what they were doing. And he said, thank goodness, Beth, we had 2 or 3 sort of plan B partners. He goes, I maintain relationships with a lot of our different vendors in the area or in the industry, and had even sort of at arm's length agreements with them for backup. So I think one of the lessons learned, at least that I heard from some of the CIOs I talked to when it comes to revenue cycle applications is, have a plan B in mind too. I think that was a lesson learned for all of us.
Oh, absolutely. Certainly a wake-up call.
Yes, right. Hey, before we close, let me ask you about rural hospitals. So I've been seeing a lot lately. Microsoft and Google both came out with some announcements really lately about helping the rural community because, they're understaffed, right? They're under-resourced, under-financed, helping them with their cybersecurity initiatives. These are, I would call them almost at-risk organizations because they just don't have the big breadth of IT staff to deal with these types of breaches. What are you hearing as far as resources that some of our smaller community hospitals could possibly use?
Right. I mean, in addition to the Microsoft and Google resources, and I highly recommend reaching out to one or both of those organizations. But other organizations and other resources you might want to consider, which is ISAC, Healthcare ISAC. It's information sharing. It's a organization which offers collaborative, non-sales focused cybersecurity counsel. It's crucial for the industry to come together, and ISAC provides that capability. Another that you may want to consider is AHA, American Hospital Association. They have a strong focus towards cybersecurity, and they have resources available to you that you can utilize to bridge your resource gap when it comes to staff and technology.
Greg, thank you so much for your time today. You can reach Greg on LinkedIn and learn more about FinThrive and their solutions at their website, finthrive.com. Greg, thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
This has been Beth Friedman, Senior Partner at Fin Partners. I thank you for listening to Fin Voices, where we talk about health information, health innovation, and all the technology in between. Until next time, wishing you all the best in health.